Everyone, welcome. This is going to be a recap of 2022. Be a little bit more of a longer-winded video, unedited, unscripted. Just gonna kind of go through my results for 2022, see what I can improve on for 2023. Just talk about all that fun stuff. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of the stats. Right? Let's take a look at the year. We can compare. Actually, I've got the date range set in right here. So we're looking at the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I'm just going to go to the detailed pane and we'll just take a look at these first. So total gain, and this is just for my scalping strategy. If I take this out of here, this will be everything. So I made just over 40,000 on the year. If I put in just scalping, which is mainly what you see me do. I do other things like trading some of the unhalts on breakouts, more like swing trade strategies. But just the scalping, this is what I did. I did just about $39,000. So for the scalping, average daily gain loss was about 182, average winning trade 36, average losing trade 31. So that's good. I like to see the winning trades be larger than the losing trades. Number of trades about 5,000, winning trades 54% against 38% loss rate, 7% scratch trades. Largest gain, 833, new record this year. Largest loss, minus 600. What else? Profit factor, 0.64. This was way up from last year. Really happy about that. Let's take a look at the instruments. So there was a couple that I just milked a lot on, like CZU, just got a ton here. And there's a huge discrepancy between like the stocks that I made money on and the stocks that I lost money on, right? So the SPRC was by far well, actually not by far, but it was my worst. Hook closely thereafter. But this was only 600, 700 bucks, whereas this was like almost 3,000. So I really like that. Let's look at price. I think this is an interesting one too. Really, I have nothing going for me in the $5 to $10 range. In fact, I actually lost money in that $5 to $10 range. And this is going to be a big area that I got to focus on in this coming year. And I'll show you what this looked like last year too in just a second. But I used to make a decent amount of profit in the $5 to $10 range. And now it's all in this $2 to $4 or $2 range. Days and times, pretty straightforward. You know, I wouldn't make any changes based on like what day of the week, right? If like Thursday's the worst, I'm not going to say like, I wouldn't trade on Thursday. Even if this was red, I wouldn't say I'm not going to trade on Thursday, right? Like you show up, some years it's going to be good on Thursday, some years it's not. Our days skewed because some trades were imported when I was on East Coast time, and then I switched to Mountain time. That's why it's all messed up. So 7 o'clock is really 9 o'clock. Almost all my money comes from the open. So those first 30 minutes and then a little bit in the next hour or so as well. All right, so taking a look, this is this year, but if we change this and look at last year to January 1st, change this to 21. We do the price volume here. So I actually made a decent amount. I actually made in 2021, I made $2,500 in that $5 to $9 price range. And it was mostly off buying dips and trading the spread. And I really just didn't do that this year. I stuck to what I knew. And my goal this year was really to just trade what I know and milk it like as much as I can, go big on the setups that I'm comfortable with. And that's what I did. And the $5 to $9 or $5 to $10 range, honestly, I just didn't feel comfortable there. So I just totally set it down. I didn't really trade it. But this is something that I want to get back into in the coming year. All right, so that's it for TraderVue. This is an interesting spreadsheet here. I want to cover this. This year, I actually had my first red month. I had 2 of them back to back. I really didn't trade in these months. You can see the number of trades over here. So I had 88 trades in 45, right? That's so low. A similar thing happened in 2021. So it was August to October, really. These months where I was barely break even And my number of trades in September, I just kept trying. I kept trying to make something work, and there was not enough volume in the market to do anything. And I ended up with 79 trades this month. Had a decent amount of trades the other months, but a similar thing happened this year, right? And I tried to take some shots. I tried to take some shots with larger size, and that's why the losses were so big. But then ultimately, I just set it down. I said, you know what? I'm not going to trade it. The volume's not there, and it's not worth it. I'm going to wait for it to come back, and it did. In December, it came back, and we had an incredible month. This was our best month ever. I would say this year, August was the hottest month. So this right here was the hottest month of the year. This is where I made the most profit. This is where we had the most volatility, the most morning gappers. I made the most percent of average position size. Profit factor was not that high though. In December, I felt like I traded really well. I felt like a lot of stocks were in my wheelhouse. I traded them really well. 2.5 profit factor, by far the best profit factor I've ever had. Actually, I did have a decent one in May too. But just, yeah, really good trading in December, and almost 120% return on average position size as well. And just so you guys are familiar with what these columns actually mean, and I'm going to go over this in the yearly stats as well. This will be interesting. But as far as so percent on positions is basically like, let's say I took one share and I made 1,000% on that one share, right? That would be reflected in this column. It would say 1,000% gain for that one stock. But that's not accurate, right? Because I was risking $10 or whatever the stock price was on that one share. So my percent of average position size, which was this right here, 5,385, that, you know, the $10 that I made on my average position size is nothing. That's nothing. So that's why I calculate the percent of average position size, because this is telling me, where are you sizing up on your best setups, right? Because if I made 1,000% and I was only one share, well, why weren't you full size? If you had full size, then the percent of average position size would show that. It would reflect that. It would show 1,000 over here. And we'll jump over to the yearly stats really quick, but I have this comparing 2021 to 2022. And if you look at the percent of average position size in 2021, you'll see that it was 471%. My percent on positions was 604. I don't know why this just went away. So what this means is on my best setups where I was making the most percent gain, I really didn't have any skin in the game. My position size was low. So this told me that really I was not getting the most out of my best setups. And that was one thing that I really wanted to focus on this year, was getting this number, my percent of average position size, larger than the percent on positions. And I did that. So that was one really, I'm proud of that this year. I'm proud that I was able to get this number up because I focused on determining what my best setups are and risking an appropriate amount of capital on those. In the coming year, I think I'm okay with letting this number slip a little bit in order to focus on some newer things. Even if I'm winning, just doing it with smaller share size until I really feel comfortable with it, I think I'm okay with that. So this number will probably slip in 2023, but I'm okay with that because in that, I'd say $1 to $5 range for stocks, I'm blocked in. I know where I need to be risking. I know where I need to be sizing up, and that's something I'm going to be trying to do this year. Excuse me. Last year, my average position size. So every time I get in a trade, how much capital am I putting into that trade? On average, it was $2,300. Okay, and I said in last year's video, I said, okay, if I can perform better this year, if I can get that percent of average position size up to 600%, which I was able to do even more than that, but if I can get that up and I can increase the average position size up to like $10,000, then I have a shot at making $80,000, $100,000. And well, I was only able to get it up. I only doubled my average position size, unfortunately. So this year, we're going to try to focus on doubling it again. And it's going to be tough because there's things that have lower liquidity and I simply can't take the size that I want on them. But there's things that give us fantastic liquidity, and I need to be aggressive on those. I need to be taking 10,000 shares. I need to be taking 20,000 shares. And I know I can do that. I need to do a better job of recognizing the opportunity and actually pulling the trigger. It's tough. It's tough to take that big. It's scary. But at the end of the day, when you know that you have an edge, you got to put on the risk. And I think one thing that's going to help me going into 2023 is doing some more daily recaps with you guys. So some of these days, especially on hotter days where I have things that I want to review, I'll probably do that in a more public setting, and I'll just go live on YouTube or whatever and just do a daily recap. And I don't know if this is going to be once a week, 3 times a week. I don't know what it's going to be, but I do want to start doing some more recaps because I think there's even if I'm trading perfectly, understanding where I should be taking more size, I think that's the next level. And that's where I need to be focusing in the recaps. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I think it'll be really educational for you guys as well, if you want to tune in for those. All right. So yeah, getting that average position size up, that is definitely next step for this year. So comparing 2021 to 22, we traded about double the capital, but we traded about 5x the shares. And I think that's because I just really focused on those cheaper stocks. So I was trading more shares, but less capital. Number of trades I reduced, and that's good because my profit factor went up. Now, if I could take the same number of trades as 2021 and maintain this profit factor, then that's great. I would love to do that. That means because I'm profitable, and why not take more trades if you're going to be profitable, right? As far as win rate goes, it dropped just a little bit, but nothing to be too concerned about because my average winner really went up, right? So my average winner was about $11, $10 average loser. Now it's 37 and 32. So I guess it didn't go up too much, but also my loss rate dropped, which means I had more break-even trades. So all in all, it's I guess that's pretty much a moot point right there. And all this other stuff we don't really care about. So yeah, 2022, at the end of the day, great year. $38,000 or $40,000 if you take into consideration all my strategies. Now, when you add it all up, and I had this in the calculator, I think I deleted it, yeah. But if you take the number of trading days that I had in 2022, and we'll look at the win-loss days here. So 75% of my days were win days, 24 losing days. If you add all these days up that I traded, and we assume that I traded for about 2 hours a day, which is probably, I actually probably trade for less than 2 hours a day, but let's assume 2 hours a day is focused on the market. What it ends up being is about $84 an hour is what I'm getting paid to trade. $84 an hour. Now, that's pretty good if you use the cool little trick of you just multiply the hourly rate by 2, and then you get what your yearly salary would be. So 84 times 2 would be $168,000 a year. That's a pretty nice salary. Now, if you're only trading for 2 hours, then you're only getting a fraction of that salary, which is, why I only made $40,000 this year. But I'm not super happy with that, honestly. Like $84 an hour, that's great, but I think it could be way higher. I really think there's room to improve on that. So let's talk new year. What are we going to be doing? I've created a spreadsheet here, and quite frankly, I don't know how I'm going to use this spreadsheet yet. But what I intend to do is take all of the gappers every day, all the gappers that are in play. Maybe there's only 1, maybe there's 5, but every stock that's gapping in the morning, I want to track a couple things on. I want to track like the percent gap. I want to track the pre-market volume, the float on it, how much volume is traded in that first 5 minutes. Because that's interesting there. The more volume that's traded in the first 5 minutes, the more likely it is to be strong throughout the day. And I just want to get an idea of how the charts react to all these different metrics. And I'll probably add some as the year goes on. Also a little bit of context, right? Right now, at the end of the year, at the end of 2022, I'm sure you've noticed that the micro floats are, at least in the past week, have been really strong. Anything under 2 mil float is running crazy. And even in the pre-market, if it looks like something else is going to be strong, say it's like a 5 mil or 20 mil float, and the 2 mil looks like total garbage, what happens is the 2 mil ends up running. So we're just in that kind of theme right now. That is the market theme, and these are the kind of things that I want to note. Like, hey, this is a micro float. This is the theme. Pre-market chart looked okay. I mean, we were selling off into the open, and then this thing completely ripped up through pre-market highs, and take a look at that. So I just want to amass like a journal of these charts that I can flip through. I can go back, study them, maybe retrade them. What I'd love to do is go back and retrade some of the stocks in that $5 to $10 range, because that's where I'm really weak right now. And that's something I got to focus on. So getting some good charts where I can go back and retrade them, that would be very nice as well. So hopefully 2023 will be good to us. 2022, I feel like was a great year. It wasn't nearly as hot as 2021. I think 2021, with all the GameStop stuff, really, it just brought so many retail traders into the game, including, I was a little bit before that, but, kind of including myself. That's really when I was getting ramped up. So, it definitely was not as hot as 2021, but it provided some steady momentum. And in 2022, I actually had my first totally green month of June, and that even continued a little bit into July. I only had one red day in July. I mean, it was really some, and then that even continued into August. So in this whole span, I had like 45 green days to one red day or something like that. I mean, the momentum was there in 2022, and it gives me hope that in 2023 we're going to see something similar. This was really an interesting year for me. I wasn't sure, as I'm sure were a lot of other traders, whether the momentum would stick around in 2023, or would the volume just be completely dead and it would look, like pre-COVID times. And maybe we will slowly descend back into that kind of environment. But at least, based on 2022, I have a feeling that we will at least see a good chunk of momentum into 2023. So here's to hoping. I guess that's really it for me. But before I go, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's followed the channel in 2022. Everybody who's followed me, supported me. Really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys had a great 2022. Let me know how you guys did in the comments. Good luck in the new year, and I'll see you in the next video.